Welcome to the Awaken Beauty podcast. And today we are talking about epigenetics and the power of you. Now, the fact is this: you are not a victim of your genes. And stated from the famous Bruce Lipton himself, we are not victims of our genes, but we are the masters of our fates, able to create our lives with overflowing peace, happiness, and love. So have you ever said something or acted in a way that was a direct copy of your mom or your dad or someone that influenced you as you were growing up as a child? Now, our lives, all of our lives, we've always heard we are predisposed to the doom and gloom of the genetic destiny based on our direct ancestry. And so when DNA was discovered only a short 64 years ago, it made sense that parts of our chromosome are passed down from generation to generation. And scientists absolutely believed that our DNA decoded our individuality and the promise of whatever ending disease that our ancestors had. So many of us will say things like, see, that's why I'm depressed, or enter whichever parent handed down your default habit at hand. And so science is now pointing away from that idea that your DNA is the key to why you are the way that you are. And so we now know through epigenetics that you have immense control over your genetic expression, and more than we've ever realized before. I like to call it the 80-20 rule. And epigenetics have proven that 80% of our everyday lifestyle decisions determines the outcome of our health and beauty, and only 20% are determined by our encoded DNA. So our genes are continuously sending information that affects cellular function, restoration, repair, cellular division, and all of these activities can impact us negatively or positively. And yet, so many of us still want to hold on to the idea that we are our genes. And collectively, we become victims of our DNA, which simply isn't true, and I'm so glad for that. So this is a mindset. It's an old pattern of belief that believing correctly, we can change this paradigm shift, because we now know that we are able to change our genetic expression through our environmental inputs. And so there are a series of chemical tags on our DNA, what we call our epigenome, that determines which genes are turned on, turned up, turned down, or completely turned off. So this is very important because it means we aren't simply expressions of DNA, but a dynamic and powerful beings. And we are influenced by our habits, our diet, our experiences, our social influences, our community, our environment, and many, many, many other influences. So what does this all mean? And it simply is this. It means that you have a chance to literally rewrite your health, your life, and your future. Because epigenetics also means that it has a genetic predisposition. Doesn't mean that it's a genetic expression. And just because your grandfather or your father had Alzheimer's or your mom had lupus absolutely does not mean that you are doomed and can have these victim mentality that you're going to have those same genes. Because only 1% of disease and illness are caused by genetics. And yet, we still give DNA an unwarranted amount of authority over our lives. So, you have an immense amount of power to influence your life. And more than a superficial level, it's possible to impact your genetic expression on a very biological and energetic level. So what are epigenetics? Epi, meaning epigenetics, is the key to how you can change your life and your experiences and your inner knowing and actions to stop being a victim. So simply by being aware of epigenetics, you can gain more control over your life. So here is how it works. I'm going to go ahead and just break it down. So each cell in your body is wrapped in a cell membrane. And cell membranes are regulators of your body. And these membranes control which molecules are allowed in and out of your cells. And these molecules have the ability to turn your genes on, turn them off, turn them up, or turn them down. So epigenetics is the study of how our physical characteristics change depending on how your cells are decoding and reading your genes. And so your physical characteristics are influenced by your epigenome, and it's the collection of these tags in your DNA. And some of your genes are being read, therefore they're expressed as character traits. So, but then there are other genes that are being really read, therefore they're not expressed at all. And unlike DNA, which remains relatively the same throughout your life, your epigenome can be changed throughout environmental factors, your ecosystem. So what influences your genetic expression? There are thousands and thousands, probably millions of factors that influence your genetic expression today. So here are some epi, meaning control over your biology, expressions in our daily life that directs our mind, our body, our spirit, and these only scratch the surface. So your thoughts. Becoming the master gardener of your mind is probably the most crucial and critical, important starting point. Because our spirit mind sends our frequencies to our entire body, directly impacting your genetic expression through the release of hormones and chemicals. Where the mind goes, the energy flows. An epigenetic stream ever flowing from your mind and your thoughts. Next is medications. And Americans lead the world in pharmaceutical consumption at 75%, even though we're only 4% of the global population. Now, we know medications impact the epigenome, and medications alter the state of our health. While at times necessary, Americans grow more sick, we're more depressed and numb, and we partake in this belief that medications will solve this very problem. This goes back to the lifestyle and the power of the mind and how we can untap ourselves from this disbelief. The next is diet. And food is literally our medicine, and it impacts our epigenome and our genes and how they are expressed. And the world of nutrigenomics is an inspiring field to bring this out. Stress levels. So the stress impacts our cortisol levels, and it is a potent hormone. So if you work in a high stress environment, it's a good idea to counterbalance this with relaxation techniques, meditation, walks, whatever that is for you. So if you felt loved growing up, positive and negative experiences are going to be carried with you into your adult life. But through epigenetics and the awareness, you have the power to positively change negative impacts through clearing the subconscious files that are stored and leaving too many open tabs in your computer, which is your mind body. You can use forms like clinical hypnotherapy to clean up all these small and large traumas in your life. And exercise is also helpful. And how often you work out is also an impact, because your epigenome, you might be surprised, doesn't mean working out harder and faster is going to be the best impact. It's really about regulating hormone levels, sweating, so that your lymphatic levels are releasing toxins, and that your cardiovascular health is releasing hormones such as endorphins that then turn on your happy genes. And then there's environmental factors. And studies have only just begun identifying the chemicals that alter our epigenome. And this may be the epidemic of the generations to come, and that is no lie, and we're seeing it today. So we can never go off guard in protecting ourselves from the environmental ecosystem, because it affects us And while we do not even know it, there are even energetic levels within our biofield and ecosystem that we're not aware of, and our stressors on our body as well. Next is your gut microbiome. And the most important DNA in your body isn't your own. It's actually your gut microbiome. And it's the collection of genes of over 40 trillion microorganisms in your gastrointestinal tract. And it's called your second brain because of this role in your life. And it is so critically important for a healthy gut balance. So it's pretty incredible, right? It's also really incredibly empowering. So it means that you have the power to change your biology through your beliefs, through your lifestyle, your choices, and managing stress levels. Because aging gracefully by reversing these telomeres is more than ever more controllable than it has been before. So you now know that you are not a victim to your DNA. And you now know that you have the power to influence your life more than you have probably ever realized. So your DNA is a dynamic roadmap consisting of the series of paths you get to choose throughout your life. And you can change your narrative of your life through everyday choices and the ecosystem you create in your mind, body, spirit, and even energetically. So you were made to grow and bloom. And even though the primitive mind thinks it's in the need to survive, you are absolutely made to thrive. And this is where mindfulness and energetic, healthy expression help bridge us into this truth and the future of your life, your destiny. This is where the truth sets you free. Now, talking about epigenetics, functional medicine, I've been studying epigenetics for probably 8 years. And finally, society is starting to understand the power that we have over our ecosystem. But we're now starting to bring to light the energetic biofield and how our epigenetics are actually informed from the energy. There are these subtle energies in our 4 different bodies and that embody this energy. And so I'm talking about mind, physical, spiritual, all of these different energies absolutely impact us as well as far as our epigenome. And maybe as much to say that it actually is the starting point that attaches and affects the stressors of the epigenetics and how it then addresses the body's stressor systems. And so I believe that now that we understand the hard science, that we are not, constricted to our encoded DNA, while I'm not throwing it aside, it's not junk science, because we still have to pay attention and use the incredible tests that we have to be able to measure and test our genetic dispositions. We can then take that and use it to our advantage to say, well, now what? So what? And so that we can then take it in an epigenetic mindset and say, how can I influence my ecosystem around me with sleep, less EMF exposure, the products that I put on my body, chemicals that I'm putting on my hair and my skin on a daily basis that impact my epigenetic disposition, as well as how we think. Because the very maladaptive frequencies that dump into our minds, or our spirit mind, and how we think between our 2 ears is one of the most powerful things that we can instantly shift and change. And so these are all incredible nuances and things to explore for you individually. And I invite you to step into this paradigm shift and out of the matrix to really understand how much control you really have over your life at every level. And I believe that we're moving into energetic health. And I do believe that energy medicine, the fact that we can start to clue into the stressors on the body before they become a physical ailment, where we then can pick up the validated, functional medicine, genetic test. It's right before that pre-step of being able to measure your energetic health. And we do that through biofeedback that is going to have such an impact in the future. So I hope this shed some light, and I hope you enjoyed this short episode on the 80-20 rule. 80% is in your control, and only 20, and some say 10%, is within your coded DNA. All right, so that's it. Thank you for watching the Awaken Beauty podcast. I am Cassandra, your organic beauty, positive mind management, and clinical hypnotherapist. And until next time, stay sane, get your sleep, and bring your sexy back.